Hello students, the topic that we are going to do today is Economic and Social Council. Now, I am revising a lot of topics with you people which I think are important for your main examination, and this I thought is one of the topic that can come in your final examination as a short note or a 10-mark question. Economic and Social Council. So this is basically one of the organs of the United Nations. So we are doing 5 organs of the United Nations in our revision topic. First, I did General Assembly with you people. Then I did Security Council. This is the third topic that we have to do. That is Economic and Social Council. So I'll be explaining the composition, powers, and functions of the Security Council to you people. Now, first of all, you should know that this is a topic that can come as a short note also or as a 10 mark. So be prepared for any one of the following. It can come as a short note. If it comes as a short note, just describe simply the composition, the members, and the powers and functions. That will suffice our answer. But if it comes as a long question, as a 10-mark question, then you can elaborate the functions and powers of the Economic and Social Council. Now, I'll begin with my topic. Now, first of all, I'll introduce this topic to you. Now, Economic and Social Council is one of the principal organs of the United Nations established by the UN Charter in 1945. So, in 1945, there were 6 organs of the UN that were established, namely the General Assembly, Security Council, ECOSOC, International Court of Justice, Secretariat, and the Trusteeship Council, which no longer exists today. They were the 6 organs. Today we have 5 organs. One of the principal organs of the United Nations is the Economic and Social Council, and it consists of 54 members of the United Nations elected by the General Assembly. So the number of members that it contains are 54 in total, and these members are elected by the General Assembly. So these 54 members are elected by the General Assembly, and it is responsible under the General Assembly for coordinating economic, social, and related work of the 14 United Nations specialized agencies, functional commissions, and 5 regional commissions. Now, understand this thing. As you know, the name is Economic and Social Council. So much of the economic and social related issues of the world are addressed by the Economic and Social Council. If I talk about the economic issues, it can be related to trade negotiations, it can be related to WTO, it can be related to exchange of goods and technologies, it can be related to IPR, it can be related to copyright. So all these are economic issues that countries can deal. It can be related to monetary policies also, fiscal policies also, the GDP also, the growth rate. All these are economic issues that can arise between the nations. Social issues can be related to all the social problems which are there, namely illiteracy, unemployment. All these are the problems that almost all the nations face, especially if I talk about the developing nations. These are the problems that all the nations are suffering from, and therefore social related work is also being addressed by the Economic and Social Council. And it basically what it does is that it coordinates with the other specialized agencies and the commissions of the United Nations. That means alone it does not do anything alone. It's a principal body for doing all the social and economic related work, but obviously it has to coordinate with the bodies and with the agencies that working actually on the ground level related to social and economic problems. For example, there are 14 UN specialized agencies. The ECOSOC coordinates with them. ECOSOC also coordinates with the functional commissions. There are functional commissions of the ECOSOC. ECOSOC also coordinates with the functional commissions, and it also coordinates with the 5 regional commissions. Regional commissions, in the sense, they are specified for a region. For example, you people know it is continent wise divide. For example, Asia, Pacific, Africa, all these are continent. North America, South America. There are 5 regional commissions which will be doing it in this topic itself. So basically what it does is that, in brief, I have to explain you. Economic and Social Council is a 54 member council, and these members are elected by the General Assembly. And this Economic and Social Council is responsible for coordinating on the economic and social related issues with other organizations, other agencies, and other commissions. For example, there are 14 UN specialized agencies. The Economic and Social Council coordinates with them. It coordinates with the functional commissions as well, and it also coordinates with the 5 regional commissions as well. So this is the major work of the ECOSOC. Now, ECOSOC was established by the UN Charter 1945, which was amended in 1965 and 1974 to increase the number of members from 18 to 54. Now, initially, when ECOSOC was named, 1978, so there were only 18 members who were the part of ECOSOC. So initially only 18 members were there in ECOSOC, but this strength was increased from 18 to 54 today, and therefore two amendments took place in the UN Charter. Now, the first amendment came in 1965, that is known as the First Amendment to the UN Charter, and from that the membership increased from 18 to 18 to a certain amount. 18 to, actually it was increased to 27, and by the amendment which came in 1974, from 27 the strength was increased to 54. So by the first amendment, from 18, which were the initial members of the of the ECOSOC, from 18 to 27 was the strength that was made by the 1965 amendment, and by the 1974 amendment, the strength was increased from 27 to 54. So the present strength of the Economic and Social Council is 54, and the ECOSOC membership is based on geographical representation. Geographical representation here basically means it is based on geography, the continents which are there. So for example, seats are allocated on the basis of continents, so that it covers all the continents, and there is no continent that is left which does not have any membership. For example, it is written that it has 14 it has allocated 14 seats to Africa, so 14 seats alone Africa has. 11 seats are given to Asia. See, it is dependent upon the continent. You people know that Africa is a very big continent, and therefore 14 seats are allocated to Africa. African members, states, 14 are there. From Asia, 11 are the members. So 11 members will be chosen from Asia. 6 to Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe is basically the Russia part. Russia, the erstwhile USSR, which was earlier USSR, those countries. So six members are taken from Eastern Europe. 10 members are taken from Latin America. Latin America, you know, Latin America is basically the southern America. So South America is also known as Latin America. So if you know, again, the size of the continent is big, and therefore 10 members are selected from Latin America and the Caribbean. Caribbean, if you see North America, and between North America and South America, there are a little bit of islands which are located in the Pacific region. Basically, these islands are known as the Caribbean islands. And 13 to Western Europe and other areas. So 13 will be elected from Western Europe. Western Europe is all Germany, Italy, France, all these countries, UK, Britain, all these countries, and even most of these countries are covered in the Western Europe part. So basically the seats allocated are 14 to Africa are given, 11 to Asia, 6 to Eastern Europe, 10 to Latin America and Caribbean islands, 13 to Western Europe and other areas. So if you make the total, it will come 54 only. Now, members are elected for 3-year terms by the General Assembly. So by the General Assembly, these members are elected for 3 years term. So what is the term that they're elected for? These 54 members are elected for 3 years term. And how the sessions happen, it hold a 7-week session each year in July. And since 1998, it has also held an annual meeting with finance minister heading key committees of the World Bank and the IMF. So when does it hold its session? It holds one 7-week session. So one 7-week sessions happens in July. So in every July, there'll be a 7-week session. 7 week is almost, if you understand, it is almost almost 2 months. So for almost 2 months, it meets in July. And after 1998, what is happening? It is also having its annual meeting with the finance minister of all the key committees of the World Bank and IMF. So if you people know World Bank and IMF, I've already done these institutions with you people. I might repeat these institutions in my revisionary classes also. So World Bank and IMF, they have finance ministers to take care of the entire functioning of the World Bank and IMF, and therefore it also meets annually. After 1998, the ECOSOC is also meeting annually with the finance ministers of World Bank and IMF. The reason being, it also take care of the economic issues. So no other organization except World Bank and IMF can be very much expert in dealing with economic issues. So if I have to give a nutshell about the introduction to the ECOSOC, you should know it is one of the principal organ of the United Nations. It has been established by the UN Charter in 1954. In 1945, it consists of 54 members, and the membership has increased from 18, which was the initial membership in 1945. It has increased to 54 by two amendments, 1965 and 1974. These 54 members are elected by the General Assembly. The main function of the ECOSOC is to coordinate with other committees of the United Nations in dealing with economic and social related work. And the seats or the memberships are given according to the geographical representation. And if I talk about the session, it holds one 7-week session in July. And from 1998, annually, if I talk about, the ECOSOC also meets with the finance ministers of the World Bank and IMF. So this is the introduction to Economic and Social Council. Now we move on to the powers and the functions. So what are the powers and the functions that ECOSOC has? The first is it to serve as a central forum for discussion on international economic and social issues. Now, you people know internationally a lot of economic and social issues arise, and it is basically like a platform where all these international economic and social issues are discussed. For example, if I talk about one of the social issues that almost all the countries of the world face, if I talk about all the developing countries of the world face, is suppose poverty or illiteracy. So all these issues are taken care at ECOSOC. ECOSOC also discusses what countries are actually facing, what all the social problems that the countries are facing. So it is basically like a central so it is basically like a central forum where all the discussions on international economic and social issues takes place. Now, second is to promote higher standard of living, full employment, and economic and social progress. Now, it also ensures, ECOSOC also ensures to promote high living standards in the people. So obviously, if people's income will increase, if people's income increase over the time, now you people know it also take cares about the economic related issues. So if people will become prosperous, they will have higher incomes. This will also lead to high living standards of the people, and it will give full employment to them. If people are having full employment, it's see, unemployment is a social issue again. So if ECOSOC is able to provide employment to the people, it will obviously tackle the social issue of unemployment on one hand, and moreover it will tackle the economic issue also, because if people are unemployed, they do not get any money, and this hampers their economy. And if people are employed, obviously they'll be getting an income, a salary. This will also lead to higher living standard, and this will also guarantee eradication of this social issue of unemployment. Next is economic and social progress. Obviously people, this economic and social progress is promoted among the people. So for example, if I talk about social progress, for example, in a family, initially there were four people. They were having no cars, no bikes, no vehicle was there. It was only a single room home where everybody used to reside, which has a common bathroom and one kitchen. There was one single room. But over the time, because of the efforts of the ECOSOC, if they have transformed their living standard into a 3 BHK, and they have a car and a bike, and now they have AC and a television and a fridge and everything, all the basic equipments, this means that they have socially progressed. Why? Because of the work of the ECOSOC, because of the work of the ECOSOC providing them with better living standards and employment, this has led to social progress in them. They have a better living standard. They have a 3 BHK house with ACs, full furniture, TV, vehicles. So this means that the ECOSOC has really worked hard in improving the living standards of the people and promoting economic and social progress among them. Now, third is to find solutions of international economic, social, health, and related problems, and international cultural and educational cooperation. Now, one of the ECOSOC function is also to find solutions to international economic, social, health, and related problems. Now, because it majorly works in all these areas of providing economic and social aid to the people, or providing more looking after more economic and social progress, and therefore it's work only, it is ECOSOC's work only to provide solutions to international economic and social problem. For example, majority of the third world countries are dealing with a problem of illiteracy. Now ECOSOC only will find solutions that how this massive illiteracy problem where people are not educated can be dealt with, how more stringent laws can be made where parents have to send their wards to schools or colleges, and then if they are sending their wards to colleges, there should be no fees for the people who are poor so that they can afford education. So all these solutions are provided by the Economic and Social Council to encourage universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Now, if people know, human rights and fundamental freedoms are core of the United Nations, because United Nations works to secure and to promote human rights and freedoms of the people, and therefore one of the core objective, and if you say the function of the ECOSOC is also to observe and also to make universal respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. Now, next is to assist the organization of major international conferences in the field of economic and social and related fields. So, it also assists the organization to organize international conferences related to economic and social issues. So, international conferences are a platform where all the big scholars and academicians of different countries can sit together and talk about the economic and social issues that their specific countries are facing, and this can lead to global solutions that can come up with from different member states. So basically it can also ask the organization to have certain conferences related to economic and social issues where people from different countries, academicians, scholars who are doing PhDs from in their own fields related to economic and social fields, they can come together, discuss their problems, and then they can devise global solutions to it. So this is one of the function of the ECOSOC. Also, it organizes international conferences in the field of economic and social related fields. Now, to make or initiate studies and reports with respect to international economic and social matters. Now, what happens? It also initiates studies and make reports. Initiate studies, I've already told you when I was explaining what is the role of ECOSOC in the class. I told you that it also initiates studies. Now, what is the work of the study and why it is very much sufficient, very much relevant and very much important, I'll tell you. Now, for example, if you have to study why people are uneducated, if I talk about, let's say, ECOSOC, if it has to study why a lot of people in UP are uneducated, or why a lot of people in, suppose, Haryana are uneducated, a lot of girls in Haryana are uneducated, and they have to find this out. So what they can do, they can initiate a study on this. They can send a team of maybe 5 to 10 members to study the situation of Haryana. They'll come to Delhi, they will go to Haryana, the specific place in Haryana where there is very low education of girls, and they will study the social conditions, that why these girls are not giving education or equal education as compared to the boys of that place or village. Now, when they will initiate study, they'll try to look at the circumstances, they'll try to live with the common people, they'll visit each and every home where there's a girl child, try to ask them questions, will ask the problems of the girls, why they're facing this problem. So what this will happen, once they will study the entire village, the entire thing, that why girls are not being sent to school in that particular village or particular state, then obviously they'll make a report that these are the reasons why this is happening, because they have seen this, they have actually worked on it, and then they will go to the ECOSOC and they will tell this to the ECOSOC that these are the problems that this village is facing, and because of that girls are not able to go to the school. And then obviously, because of this study, this very efficient study, ECOSOC can also devise solutions to it, that how this problem can be catered. So why this has happened? This has happened because there were some people who initiated a study of that place. So studies are very important to have solutions for the same. Next is to prepare draft conventions for submission to the General Assembly. So it will prepare draft convention. I'll tell you what is a draft convention. For example, there is no convention international. You understand what is international conventions? International conventions are the conventions are basically the, you can say it's a convention. It is a place where all the member states will meet. The members of that convention will meet and discuss and devise solution to that problem only. For example, if I talk about the convention related to law of seas, or the convention refugee convention, so these are convention in which there are a lot of member states. For example, there's a refugee convention, then obviously people around the member states will come together, will find solutions to the refugee problem. So convention will deal about a specific issue. So what is the work of the ECOSOC? It will prepare draft convention. For example, there is no convention at present today related to a global convention nahi hai. For example, if I talk about terrorism, then obviously what ECOSOC can do, ECOSOC can draft a convention that this will be the blueprint of this convention, which it will write that who can be members, what will be the powers, what will be the headquarters, where will be the headquarters, what will be the functionary commissions which will work under it. So this draft can be prepared by the Economic and Social Council. Now it also coordinates the work of the specialized agencies and programs and their functional commissions and 5 regional commissions. I've already told you, it also coordinates the work of other specialized agencies and commissions. What is its function is that there are other functions which are there are other commissions and agencies which are working under the ECOSOC on different issues related to, for example, health, education, poverty, terrorism, refugee problem. So obviously it can coordinate with these specialized agencies. So one of the functions of the ECOSOC is also to coordinate the work of the specialized agencies and programs. Next is to make arrangements for consultations with NGOs. Now NGOs plays a very important part. I've explained this in the class also. For example, if there is an NGO related to child labor, to prohibit child labor or ban child labor, if I talk about an NGO, there is CRY NGO, Child Rights and Youth, CRY, CRY. Now, if I talk about that NGO is majorly to protect the child rights and to make the children aware about their rights. What are their rights as a child in this country? Now, this is an NGO that try to promote that tries to protect the child rights, and therefore, if anything happens in India related to child rights, suppose there has been child exploitation, child sexual abuse, which is increasing in the country, then obviously these datas and these consultations to these can be provided from this NGO, because this NGO is actually working at the ground level. Now, what ECOSOC can do, ECOSOC, if it wants any data, if it wants to consult an NGO, then obviously this NGO, the CRY, that is for Child Rights and Youth, can be consulted in the matters of child rights. So basically, these are the powers and the functions of the ECOSOC. If I hope you have understood these. Then I move on to the last slide, that is the work conducted by ECOSOC. Now, what is the work conducted by the ECOSOC? Now, most of ECOSOC's work is performed in functional commissions on topics such as human rights, narcotics, population, social development, statistics, the status of women, and science and technology. Now, if you know about all these, if you understand about all these areas, you'll understand that most of the things talks about social and economic problems only. So work is performed in all these areas. It has a lot of functional commissions that perform all these topics only. Like there is a function commission that specifically deal with narcotic problem, narcotics related to drug problem, which is arising and which is of cause of worry, especially in the countries of Latin America and Africa. So narcotics, and Asia also. Narcotics can be one problem. Another problem can be human rights. So there will be a function commission related to protection of human rights. There can be a function protection commission for the status of women. There can be a function commission for social development. So these are the function commissions that most of the ECOSOC's work is actually performed by these commissions. So these commissions, what they'll do, for example, if any problem related to, for example, drug trafficking is very much rising in the world, then obviously the functional commission who is working actually on narcotics, drugs, can provide information to the ECOSOC, and instead of ECOSOC actually working on it, it will be the functional commission of narcotics that will be working and dealing with how this drug trafficking or smuggling can be reduced. So most of the ECOSOC's work is actually performed by these functional commissions. Now, the council also oversees 5 regional commissions. As I told you, these 5 regional commissions are basically of the 5 regions of the continents. If you can see, there'll be one regional commission for Europe, there'll be one regional commission for Asia and the Pacific, there'll be one regional commission for Western Asia, one for Latin America, and another for Africa. So there are 5 regional commissions for, if you see, different continents. One will be for Europe, another will be for Asia and Pacific, third will be for Western Asia, fourth will be for Latin America or South America, and the last one will be for Africa. So these are basically the 5 regional commissions, and the UN Charter allows ECOSOC to grant consultative status to non-governmental organizations. So UN Charter also allows ECOSOC to grant consultative status. Consultative status means ECOSOC can consult these NGOs which are working in different countries. So whenever any consultation needs to be provided to the NGOs or to be given to the NGOs by the ECOSOC, then obviously ECOSOC can provide consultation. And even at some point of time, if the ECOSOC also, if the NGO also wants to consult the ECOSOC, it can consult it on any matter. So this is basically the work that has been conducted by the ECOSOC. So I hope this topic is very simple. You should basically know the introduction, how to introduce it, then you should know the powers and functions, and then what are the regional commissions which has been established, and most of its work is done by these regional commissions and functional commissions. So this has been the work of the ECOSOC. Now, this is the end of my lecture for ECOSOC. If you have any doubts, you can mail me the same. It is my mail ID is swati.saxena@alc.edu.in. In case you want me to have a revision of any other topic that you want, basically I'm revising all the important topics that needs to be shared with you people. But in case you have a doubt in any of the topics, or you want me to repeat this topic to you again, you can mail it to me. So I'll be really glad if you do that. And in case of any doubts, you can mail me the same, swati.saxena@alc.edu.in. Thank you so much.